Can you just assume or just make a wild guess? Like how much time it will take if you do the same transaction with blockchain? Yeah, and that too, like we don't have a limit. If you have to send $10, $1,000, or million of dollars, it can be done within a minute, maximum in a minute. Okay, and settled instantly. Okay, and you don't have to care about any transactional fees or anything. There is a minimal gas fee associated with it. Gas fee is basically a transaction fee in that specific blockchain. So I guess like financial sector have a huge impact that has been made by blockchain. Okay. Also, like blockchain is enabling banks and other financial institutions to identify individuals using blockchain-enabled IDs. We all know, there has been fraud made, or there has been, defaulters of banks that have taken the money from Indian banks and flew away some in international, right? But and also we have seen like there are a lot of cases in which a ID, maybe it can be any of the government ID, but that has been tampered or created something falsely, and that is given to bank, and that's the reason like all these issues are created, right? But with blockchain, being it's a cryptographically encrypted and secure, you banks are also enabling their IDs on the blockchain. So it is very close to impossible to manipulate those data because everything is verified on the blockchain itself. Okay, and we have already discussed like blockchain can make the process of cross-border transaction faster, more accurate, and less expensive. And financial transaction is not something, or financial transaction is not only use case that is like we can use in blockchain. I know like we all come from different areas or different background. There is some sort of scenarios मतलब कुछ ना कुछ चीज होती है that is very close to our heart, right? For example, for me it may be a financial sector. For someone, some of you have raised your hand for the personal identity, right? Some of you might have, an issue of already a family business and doing the supply chain. So blockchain is not something that can be used in one sector or something on the second sector, but it can be used in a variety of various use cases that you can see over here. You can see like the voting, ownership, supply chain, healthcare, P2P lending, global payments, and derivatives. So one more thing that you can learn from this slide is not just like memorizing this stuff, but when you are building something new, maybe for new project, new venture or something, try to see, okay, can this thing can be solved through blockchain in much efficient manner? Okay. And one thing also, just don't try to include blockchain in anything, just for the sake of like buzzword or something like that. If you think there is a real issue, if you think that problem should be or can be solved by the blockchain, then only try to incorporate with that. And of course, like feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any queries or anything. And I guess these are one of the figures, financial institutions alone have spent about $552 million on blockchain powered project. So you can see like, one of the thing is like if banking system or something like financial institution are, putting efforts in the blockchain, that means it cares or like the technology is truly legit, right? I guess how many of you heard of JP Morgan? Can you raise your hand? You know what JP Morgan mentioned in earlier when blockchain is getting started? Anyone aware like what JP Morgan mentioned when blockchain is just getting started? What were their comments by official release? I'm not just making it up. JP Morgan initially released this statement that blockchain is fraud or like blockchain is more like a bubble that will burst sometime later. But then I guess in 2017-16, JP Morgan introduced its own blockchain theorem. I guess many of you might have used also, right? And they are investing heavily in the blockchain because as a person or like as an outsider, like see honestly this is a true story. मतलब even जब मैं भी blockchain में नहीं था, right? When I was in college, I guess second, third year, the many people are investing in this cryptos anything. For me, it seems like a scam. Honestly, I won't deny it. Okay, but when I jumped into it, even the story of how I started in blockchain was one day I just stumbled into the white paper of the blockchain or the Bitcoin specifically. And I was like, wow, like the transaction and everything, the major issue that is happening globally can be solved just by the piece of code. So that basically drove me to this technology. I guess that's the impact you also have to realize, not only for the blockchain, but all the tech that is available. Yeah, do you have any query? Huh? Yes.
Arijit,
Can you give me?
बात कर रहा है उसको क्लिक दे रहा है ऑन या
Am I audible right now?
Yes.
All right. One of my query was that we were having a look at the DeFi, how blockchain is relevant to financial services, and one of the particular advantages that we had in mind with this particular domain would be anonymity, right?
Yes.
I believe that Monero is considered to be very, very anonymous within the within the particular transactions that we conduct using blockchain, right? And I am from a security background. I am particularly interested in operational security. And one issue that a guy had, he wasn't using the blockchain for good purposes. He was conducting transactions, but he was trying to do it anonymously, right? And there were legal frameworks in place, right? You have finance through which you have to conduct your transactions using Monero, right? You have particular vendors. I don't have the particular word in mind right now. But he signed up to Binance and he did that with his own particular ID, government issued ID, and he got caught very bad, right? So there needs to be a particular, a balance between the two because there is still a lack of anonymity within blockchain when it is relevant to crypto due to the various legal frameworks being issued to the vendors, right? So this was my first question. Like, what would you suggest?
Got it. I guess before I start answering this question, do you know what wallet address is? Or
I do know what
MetaMask?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the scenario that you have mentioned, how many of you think that is not decentralized? I'll just repeat the scenario. Like what happened is one of the person was trying to transact some sort of a transaction that is not very legit, right? And somehow he's transacting through one of the exchanges, Binance. Okay, and he was caught, of course, not doing very legit transactions. So the question is still at one time, I'm mentioning anonymity, and on the other hand, that guy is getting caught. Okay, so one thing is, how many of you think that is not centralized or that is not decentralized, the thing he has used? Or you have no idea? You might have Geo Airtel, but no idea. Okay.
Idea basically ceased to exist when Geo came in the market, and it is decentralized. The technology itself, blockchain is decentralized, and you talked about Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper as well, and I absolutely believe in the technology that he had set up initially, but I don't believe that it's scalable to a global level, and
So I guess I'll quickly answer this question. First thing is you are already well versed about the wallet addresses.
Yeah.
So that's why I'll just directly come to the point. Binance Exchange is centralized entity that is created just for the purpose of creating good user experience. Most of the users or people like us misjudge that platform is decentralized only because cryptocurrency is getting traded over there. Okay. Yeah.
See, I completely understand your point over here that those particular organizations are working within a particular region and they have to abide by the laws of the particular region, right? But I'm saying that what is the kind of solution that we can come up
Yes.
with in order to
Definitely.
grab anonymity when there are such multi-layered legal frameworks involved in the question as well.
I guess see, of course, I agree that transacting directly onto the blockchain is a bit hard. There is a saying or a quote in blockchain. Okay, do let me know like if you have heard about this. If this is not your private key, you don't own that token. Not your private key, not your tokens. Right? Similarly, it goes with the Binance exchange that you are not provided with your private key, right? Everything is abstracted. So I guess that is just as good or as same as centralized. Okay, there is no difference in that. Only thing is they are letting you trade crypto. That doesn't mean it is any reason. Okay, now answer that how I can do it. So you see, like of course, as a developer, if you are aware about the code, okay, you can all this code is publicly verifiable on the blockchain explorer, because if we are talking about the Ethereum. Otherwise, you have the access of those codes. There is something called API. Maybe we will get later on, or we can have one discussion. So through that code, you can always interact, and while you are doing the transaction directly over the code, there is nothing that is getting, like it is totally anonymous. Okay, until unless we are not creating a bridge of, taking those crypto tokens or anything, all the transaction into fiat, everything is anonymous over here. I'm not sure like if you have heard about Tornado Cash. We can talk about Tornado Cash also in that specific thing. But at very high level, that's the answer. Because right now, what we are doing is we are trying we have to create a bridge between Web3 and Web2 to create a good UX, and that's why we have the centralized entry and everything. But the idea is, of course, to do all the things directly via wallet address and maybe communicating with the code.
Seems a little, I seem a little paranoid asking this question right now. Because nobody else would be concerned with what the government is doing. How decentralization as a concept is, for individual freedom and against the legal frameworks that are being imposed in a particular region. But there still exists. I understand what you mean, right? We can have our own private key and we can get the transactions done by ourselves if we understand how the process works. But we still need to get cash in exchange of that particular currency. A solution came up into my mind just as I asked this question, right? You can have other people associated who go into similar things and you can transact money with it.
Yeah, I guess see like one thing is talk about any technology or revolution, it takes time, right? When we talk about so I guess like after going to the blockchain, we are learning about the transition phase of Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. Okay, so one thing is we are going to learn about Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. And when we talk about the Web 3, it takes time. Because even when internet started, many people complain that it is going to get dissolved or something. It doesn't make sense. Because at that time we are getting information on the newspaper, we can read newspaper at our liability, or like at the ease of experience. Right? That time computers are costly, nobody is going to buy that. And even if you're creating a static website, that doesn't make sense at that time. But over the period of time, all these things happen, and we are able to realize the true impact of internet of Web 1, Web 2. So similarly, like it is just going to the transition phase. That's the reason we still have the issue in the UX. I totally agree. But to answer this, we are going to make it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that.
Cool. Coming back to the point, and I guess of course, if you have any queries, I'll stay even after the session. We can always have one-on-one chat. Okay. So yes.
Q&A last में करते हैं अभी session करेंगे.
Okay. I guess we are also going to have a specific QA in last 30 to 45 minutes. So you can always ask your queries at that time also, right? We initially go with the generic flow right now, and after the QA, I am also staying over here. Like I can stay till night. That's totally fine, right? So don't get like disheartened or anything that your queries will not get answered. And of course, like we have created a community for you. So if you have any queries, that is also getting answered even after this. Okay, coming to the blockchain, there are three types of blockchain: public, private, and hybrid. So one thing is we see like there are a lot of use cases that can be done to the blockchain. Okay, but again there is a problem, right? I cannot use financial transaction or a private data in a public blockchain. That means at one point I'm saying, yeah, every blockchain is secure, it is immutable. But कल अगर मैं अपनी identity blockchain पे डाल देता हूँ, for example, Ethereum or anything, then it doesn't make sense, right? All my private information, let's say I'm a trader, right? I'm a coffee trader and I sell coffee to like, let's say 10 different clients or something, wholesaler. Okay, and each one of them have a different buying capacity and I provide a different price to them. Now, just to make a supply chain good, I cannot put that price on the blockchain. Right, sir? They won't be like buying from me if they know, like, anyone else is, taking the same thing for $10 and they are paying 20 or $18. Okay, so we have to see, like, which use case is suitable for which specific blockchain. So currently, or like, if we classify the blockchain into high level, there are three types of blockchain: public, private, and hybrid. Public blockchains are those in which everything is transparent. You don't need any permission to be a part of the network. That means, I guess someone already mentioned 51% quorum, right? So anyone can be a part of the node. They can node is just a piece of software that you can run on server or your computing machine, right? And you can be a part of a network. So this is public blockchain, and mostly, like, here, if you wanted to do something that is should be publicly available, then we usually use public blockchain. Major example of public blockchains are Ethereum, Bitcoin, and so on. Okay. Private blockchain is something in which you required a set of permission if you wanted to participate in the nodes. Okay. For example, Hyperledger Fabric and similar framework. And the reason is, like I mentioned, for the financial transaction usually maybe related to something, private identity or something, we use private blockchain. And finally, there can be a use cases where we have to get a mix of both. So there we have hybrid blockchain. One of the example is Hyperledger B2. So of course we will go deep dive into that afterwards. But just to give you the high glimpse of what it's all about. So I guess we already covered this. Why there is no chaos. Now you know the answer, right? Why there is chaos? Because of consensus, right? So three major consensus, or major consensus that blockchain have is POW stands for, POS stands for proof of stake, and POS for nice. I guess like few of you, like this is rare. Proof of stake is of course used by very few blockchain. Anyone know like who uses proof of history? Oh wow. I guess, yeah. So proof of work, proof of stake, and proof of history. Major blockchain like Bitcoin uses proof of work. Now Ethereum has shifted its consensus from proof of work to proof of stake. I'll just quickly explain you in very layman terms because we have a mixed audience over here. So in proof of work, basically what we have to do is like there are a lot of miners who have to mine the transactions. Okay, and whenever we are talking about miners, validators, you or something, everything is machine, right? There is no human intervention that is involved over here. So proof of work basically works in such a way there is a computational problem that you have to solve. The machine which is able to solve the problem very first, or super fast, the machine will get first to solve that problem, will get rewarded some sort of a cryptocurrency associated to it, or validated transaction. Okay, now those transactions are validated by other miners also, and finally attached to the blockchain. Okay, that creates the immutable property of it. Second thing is that we have to, visualize from this. There is no centralized authority that is involved in this. That means, for example, if I'm running the node on Google, Google will pay, right? Amazon will pay for their nodes or servers. But being a decentralized network, there is a cryptocurrency associated to it. For example, Bitcoin have Bitcoin, right? Ethereum have Ether. So if you mine this transaction, validate this transaction, you basically earn this cryptocurrency. Okay, so that's also one of the way. Beside the trading, you can earn crypto. Okay, and again, like this is a not a financial advice, but whenever you are investing in some sort of a crypto, try to understand, what's happening behind the scene. Like why we have that specific crypto, what is the use of that blockchain, so that you can understand, okay, that's the reason why we have this crypto, and this is the reason, blockchain like have a legit use case, or it's just like, another scam. So that will also help you in the investing perspective. And finally, we have proof of history that is used by Solana as mentioned. And in very simple words, like, it have a set of timestamp, or it has something called time delay function that we can discuss, I guess, at the latest. So I guess like for you all, we have created a exclusive community for the blockchain. So if you don't have a Telegram, please download it. Like, I'll just give you the access of it. The benefits of that specific community is if you have any queries, anything at the later stage, you can always ask over there. Of course, we'll be posting more resources because I'm sure like at least 1 to 2% of you might have the queries after this session, like, how to get started. We know, like, at the basic what blockchain is, but what are the resources and everything that we can have to, like, move further. So we'll be providing everything over there. So in case you don't have the Telegram, please download that.
Next. Your.
Yeah, next.
Your. Path.
Cool. I guess so. I now we'll do. You have any query? Yeah.
Hello. Sir, I have a doubt regarding hybrid blockchain and public blockchain. Like, if I want to, like hybrid blockchain, how it works? It's like public plus private. Or if I want to develop a software that includes both private and public blockchain, can I use hybrid blockchain or I want to use different like private and public code?
But I guess hybrid blockchain, like I mentioned, one of the example is hyperledger based, right? And also one of the use cases, for example, like I'm a coffee trader, right? I don't want to publicly show my transaction that I'm giving this price to specific wholesaler, right? But again, at the same time, being a coffee trader, I want to pull pricing publicly available. So if you go to the shop or something, you can see the coffee pouch or something. You will scan the QR code and see everything publicly available over the blockchain. Okay. So what hybrid the blockchain or like the specific ways to happens is like you can send some specific private transaction to a specific recipient. Okay. So the most of the network is public, but it enables you to send a private transaction. So it depends on use case, like what is the use case.
Like, if I am developing a software for like any particular college in India, okay, and if any college want their database to be private or public, so they can go on the same India and if some college wants to just take the data on the whole in whole India, so they can use public blockchain. So is there any way that they can both work in the same blockchain like privately to and publicly?
I guess like one thing is in the private blockchain, you can always include the transaction hash or link of the public blockchain, so it will redirect to that public blockchain. But again, like it requires a lot of discussion to define the architecture. But just to give you that one good answer, you can always have the hash in the private blockchain. So if you wanted to make something public, you can just click over there and it will just redirect to the public blockchain and vice versa. Cool. I guess now we'll go to the MetaMask. I'll show you. So every transaction that is happening in the blockchain is addresses, right? How many of you have bank accounts? Okay. How you basically receive the money? You provide the account details or so-called UPI ID. Okay. And you provide that UPI ID or account details to someone, and they can send you the money, right? But can they, you can receive the money from that bank account number or UPI ID, but can they also send the money from your account just by that account number? Yes or no? What they need basically is OTP or like some sort of a password or something like that, right? Similarly, in the blockchain, I was mentioning everything is cryptographically encrypted, everything is secure. But how we basically interact with blockchain, right? There should be some way to interact with blockchain. So anything or any transaction that is happening on the blockchain is done through the wallet. Okay, what is a wallet? Any idea what is a blockchain wallet? What does blockchain wallet includes? You can just speak loudly. Yep.
Am I audible?
Yep.
The wallet is where we get a particular key through the wallet, and through that we can send and receive the cryptocurrency.
Nice. Yeah. I guess see the blockchain wallet and such a lovely audience. Huh? I guess just for being such a lovely audience, I do a gesture. I take you the initial step of maybe the first step in the blockchain world. Okay, so like ma'am mentioned, we can send transactions of cryptocurrency through wallet. So I guess like at least 10% of you are interested in how we can set up our own wallet address, like an anonymous. Are you interested in a demo or should we skip it? If you're interested, you can raise your hand. Because I need a consensus, right? Great. I guess we can do a small demo. And as you know, MetaMask is one of the cryptocurrency wallet. So how we internet is so MetaMask is a cryptocurrency wallet, and it basically every wallet, every blockchain wallet have two things. One is the public key, second thing is the private key. And even the name suggests you don't have to provide your private key. Okay, otherwise they own everything that is on their address, right? So today we are taking first step in the blockchain world. You should have your own identity and see one of you can say this is a form of a blockchain or something like that. Also with great power comes great responsibility, right? Agree or not?
There is a quick announcement. Please, everybody settle down. Everybody who's leaving the venue right now won't be getting their DLs. Just to make it very clear, please settle down and maintain the decorum. Don't use your phones. Don't sleep. Who knows if you behave well, we may teach you how to turn your crypto wallet from red to green. No promises, but people in the balcony, especially settle down. If you're leaving the venue, let me repeat, you won't be getting your DLs. Thank you.
Well, I guess that sounds like a scam story. So anyone who tells you I'll make your crypto from red to green, he might be doing a scam. Sorry, sir. So I guess मेरे साथ इतना बोरिंग तो नहीं हो रहा है. अगर हो रहा है तो DL के लिए रुक जाओ देखो. बाकी तो मेरे को कोई incentivization है, right? So अभी we are going to create a MetaMask wallet. ठीक है. The potential of this wallet is you can do any transaction. I just like sir asked over there a few minutes back कि या Binance में वो पकड़ा गया. तो I guess इधर शायद पकड़ा नहीं. ठीक है. So but I don't promote those type of activities. But it's a huge step in the blockchain journey. Maybe you will regret later, like if you won't learn how to do that, but that's fine. Almost everyone has some sort of regrets. before we get started with how to install or have our own cryptocurrency wallet, we'll just quickly see like a very small video of how to save your keys and use this wallet. Sound is low.
We also have trivia planned for the event, and we have lots of stickers and t-shirts to give away. So please maintain the decorum and be participated. Thank you.
maybe audio technician is not.
ठीक है कोई नहीं चल रहा
हाँ पे वेबसाइट पे है क्या? हाँ मैं डांस What are you?
I guess nobody we can play Damshras in this. I'll just translate what this video means basically. So see like in blockchain when we are doing any transaction or anything, all our footsteps are getting tracked. Like in the normal web 2 world or anything. Similarly, we go to the blockchain. We have to do the transaction because there are a lot of application and things happening in the blockchain world also. So this MetaMask provides you a door to basically access all those things beside without providing your actual identity or taking all your personal data address. Okay, so that's what MetaMask do for you. So you can see in the previous visualization of this video, all these things are getting tracked. But now all those bad actors that is basically taking your personal identity or privacy away. So that is not in good form. So now we can switch how we can install MetaMask. So MetaMask is you can also get in the mobile or you can get it via Chrome extension or the browser extension. Today we are going to do with the browser extension. So you just go to the website like MetaMask, type simply MetaMask in the web browser. You can see you can download either Chrome, iOS or Android. I'll just click on the Chrome one, and it is as simple as just clicking on this button. So the moment I just clicked on this and put the add extension, so it will just take a while to I guess download, and that's it.
No, I guess it's the right side.
So as you can see, there are two options. If this is not visible, that's fine. The option one is create a new wallet or import the existing wallet. So one thing that you should visualize right now is this is platform agnostic. ठीक है अगर मेरे को आज बैंक अकाउंट ओपन कराना है तो I need to go to some bank, at least they'll come at my home, or we have application some sort of with providing bunch of KYC documents or some sort of thing. But here if you have that seed phrase, we'll see what seed phrase is and why it is necessary. So if you have seed phrase anywhere in your computer machine, you can import a wallet. If not, we can create a new wallet. So I guess I hope many of you will create your first wallet today with me. So if you go, you can see create a new wallet, and like I was mentioning, with great power, it comes great responsibility. So one thing is in bank, if we lose the access of password or something, we can go to the bank, right? Because that's the centralized entity and they can answer our queries. But in blockchain is totally decentralized. What does that mean? You owns everything. Okay, all the power, everything is given to you. That means if you lose or forget your seed phrase, there is no way it can be recovered. Okay, so this is my humble request for just getting started with the blockchain. If you're creating your wallet, first thing is keep your private key and seed phrase very safe. Maybe write down on a paper, like 3-4 papers, keep it very safe somewhere. or like don't keep safe if you don't hold anything. Okay, that is also fine. And third thing is don't ever just click on any random website just for some free NFTs or airdrop. It mostly a scam that leads to the loss of the whole asset. So just quickly go to the next or agree. So this is the password. This is fine. Like even if you forgot this password, that's totally fine because this is just for the encrypting the seed phrase over here. Okay, you can always create a new or import those things. So I will just type a random password right now.
Sound not good. This.
Okay. So you can see like in this video, it is explaining the same thing that don't basically.
नहीं चल रहा है, यहाँ चल रहा है.
So I guess this is a seed phrase that we are talking about. Okay, so maybe can you just take a screenshot because we have to provide in the next screen. Or I'll just copy this. So you can see like there are tabs saved in a password manager, maybe stored in some safe deposit box or something like this. So this is a seed phrase. It seems like a bunch of random words, but the potential of this random words is huge. You can create n number of wallets with private key, of course. You can do transaction in any of the Ethereum enabled or EVM enabled blockchain, and you can always recover or import this same asset everything. That means you carry your whole bank, not only the financial system, but everything that you do on the blockchain with this 16 random words. Okay, so although I have revealed this words with all of you, please don't use this seed phrase for any real mainnet transaction. Can you just take a photo of this? I'll make it.
Meanwhile, I will play the video.
And maybe in the next step you can just fill this. Now just fill this. Okay, now
Video चला रहा हूँ.
that's fine. You don't need it. You don't. So now it's just asking for us to confirm secret recovery phrase. So you can see like those 16 words or 12 words are there. Now one of my friends is just helping with me filling these gaps. So if he basically put this the same word in the same fashion, it will just generate the wallet address. Can you please confirm? Got it. So yeah, just next. Cool. That's it. I guess we have created our wallet address. So you can see this is our account address. Can you just go on the new tab and type Etherscan? So Etherscan is a block explorer. Okay, Etherscan is a block explorer. As I was mentioning, everything is public, right? This is everything is a publicly available on blockchain. So you can see like this is somewhere you can see all the transaction. Can you please paste that address? So this is your public wallet address. Okay, and if we just click on the search, it does not show anything because we have just created that specific address, right? So it makes sense like if you don't have anything. So that's how like you can generate your own wallet in less than 2 minutes. And I'll just tell you like few things more about the MetaMask wallet now. First thing is the wallet address. If you see over here like the 3 dots, you can export your account details, that is specifically the private key. Okay, And so one thing is like, of course we have to do a lot of transactions in a multiple blockchain. Okay, so you can always like, include multiple network over here. Like what I mean by multiple network is, of course, like, I'm not going to do all the transaction in the mainnet because it will require like transaction fees or everything that is real money, right? So there are a lot of testnet available. There are a lot of network available beside Ethereum. So you can just add to the network and do the transaction over there. In the same fashion, millions of billions of crypto can be any place of the earth within like minutes or seconds. So I guess this is a great way to visualize the impact of blockchain. Can we go to the slides? So if you see, like, I have done few transactions in the past, and you can keep calm because these are testnet ether. I'm not that rich. So you can see, like, this is how you can get, some sort of testnet ether. And these are all the transaction history that I've made so far. So, yep, you can go through this. So these are few of the MetaMask feature. That is, it is open source, so you can actually see the code of this whole wallet. If you wanted to make any modification, you can do that. So that is super helpful to create something over this MetaMask. And just do let me know thing over there, I guess that might interest you is there are a lot of hackathons happening across the globe. Okay, and the price of the winners is more than 5K dollars or 7K dollars. So you can just see, like, if you are creating or learning all these things about the blockchain and participating in the hackathons. So even a single hackathon can win you that much money. Of course, like that should not be the end goal because the things you are creating also impact the billions of users, right? So the code is open source. If you are more interested in the technicality, you can go to the code and try to create something over this. Okay, those so these are like few things, and I was mentioning about Indian community that we have created, and I have already pinned a message in this Telegram group, so you can go and see if you wanted to explore, and don't try to spam this network. Otherwise, like strict action will be taken from the authority. But if you are honestly interested, there is no mandatory involvement of this. If you are interested in this, you can just scan this code. Otherwise, feel free to opt out into from this because we genuinely wanted to create a community of a real or interested developers or even a non-tech people. That's totally fine. But don't scan this if you're not interested. Can I switch the slides?
Volunteers, you can help the people if they are facing issues scanning the QR.
I guess we can quickly go to the evolution of Web3 now. like what is Web 1, Web 2, how whole this journey started, where we were in the era of internet, how we basically evolved, where we are currently, and where we are heading towards, like the future, that is Web 3. So these are like 4 chapters that we are going to do. So initially, like when we talk about what is Web 1.0, or what how internet is originated. So Web 1 is basically in which you can just read the information. That means there is no way you can write or make any update or anything over there. It was as simple as a static page. So back down, I guess in the 90s era, major mode of communication was newspaper, I guess. So you get everything over there. So when internet started, or like this Web 1.0 originated, so many people were like opposed of this. Why I need to buy those expensive machine just to show like a ad or some sort of information in the digital world, right? That I can see in just like 100, or like a minimum fee in a newspaper, and that also coming to my doorstep. So this is unidirectional conversation. That means you cannot update. Second thing is the innovation. Of course, like one thing is newspaper might be restricted just to your city, maybe to the country, but this is the innovation. This is the way that you can reach out to the entire world. But the problem was like we talk about different things to different people, but no way to do that because there is no way we can update. Can you switch the slide? Then came Web 2.0, I guess that most of us are using right now. That is Web 2.0. The information is bi-directional. Okay, for example, WhatsApp, Netflix, anything, any application that you're using is Web 2.0. But the problem is there's a lack of transparency because we have seen there are a lot of hacks happen, right? We read news about data has been leaked by Facebook or a lot of organization, right? There is a single point of failure because we know like servers are centralized, so attackers can also attack over there. There is a corruption and huge incentivized for hack to occur. If anyone wanted to manipulate the centralized server, it's very easy, or at least they have the capabilities to manipulate. That leads to the corruption of the whole network. Finally, for the hackers, they are getting like huge amount of data, and data is the new oil, right? So they are getting the whole data, so there's a lot of incentivization for that. Finally, evolution and need of Web 3. So these are the broken pieces of Web 2, right? I just see like, I'm not sure like if you have ever thought or visualized for this, but personally, like, I'm very, very, you can say skeptical, or like, I'm very afraid of sharing my private credentials, even the email or mobile number or anything, right? Because I'm not sure, but if you have, thought of this, but that specific basic info that at least we Indians don't take serious, or we are not very concerned about that, but that can be used for very illegal activities, right? So that is like, again, like, there are a lot of middlemen that we have to trust. Even from my personal experience, I was like, visiting one of the marketplace. I guess I have found that over Instagram or something. There was a very cool case cover of my mobile, right? So I was, I was very allured by that specific case of that specific mobile cover that I have. So although I have never heard of that website or something, right? But I decided, okay, let's go pay some amount, and they might get delivered my use case, phone case. Then after like waiting for 15-20 days, there was no contact. Everything from everywhere was blocked. So see, like this kind of, I guess, hack. No, this is not hacks, but fraud or everything happens with most of us like every day, right? So what we don't know like what the privacy goes away. Have you ever thought why like a lot of big giants like Facebook, WhatsApp, and even I guess like many of small companies also provide you app for free. Like they don't like WhatsApp have never asked me to pay for subscription, or a lot of big companies never even ask. Like Google have never asked me, hey, Pranshu, give me $10 a month to search for XYZ thing. So like why they are giving for free? So like one thing is if the product is for free, that means you are the product. That means your data privacy is something that is getting stolen, or you are not in the control of it. And I guess this is not something very new, or you are hearing for the very first time. That you should be surprised. This is something you all are already aware of, but it's a habit of human nature. We always neglect this kind of things. And finally, critical issues occur like data breaches, single point of failures, and huge incentivized for hackers. So GM Web 3.0, and with Web 3.0 we can solve this problem for sure. There is no single point of network. As you can see this diagram, it is more like a distributed, but every node is like the whole network is decentralized. That means, and of course it's governed by a consensus. That means you cannot manipulate, or there is no middleman, so you don't have to trust any human. Okay, machines and everything is code, and that code is transparent, so you can see that and trust that. So, and also for example, right now if I have to run a node on AWS, I have to pay the money, but while running the network are rewarded. For example, right now if I'm running the Ethereum node, I'll get incentivized in Ether. Similarly for the Bitcoin and every other public blockchain. And in the terms of innovation, it enables a trustless, faster, and user incentivization first way to run the web. So I guess this is just a glimpse. I'll say 0.001% of what Web 3.0 is and what it can do. So it's totally your choice if you wanted to control your identity, privacy, and everything, or life is still going good. Cool. So again, one thing is when I started this seminar, I asked you how many you have heard about blockchain or anything like that. How many of you explored or something like that? So there were very few hands that have been lifted up. So Web3 is still early, and the salaries, jobs, and everything in the Web3 is huge. So you can see Web3 is like early days of internet. I agree we have problems. I agree this is slow, maybe not that much scalable. But if you see the graph of improvement, and if you see or understand the technology beneath it, you'll see this is more like the early era of internet. There were questions, but you see where we have come so far. Then the critical tools still needs to be invented. Like there are a lot of tools that are present in the Web 2, but not in the Web 3. So these are still yet to be invented. And finally, we and India can become innovation leaders rather than service leader. I'm not sure if this line basically touched you or give you goosebumps, but the impact of this is honestly we as Indians, the moment when you create your own company or we can impact at global level, then you will realize that we and all of us and Indians can be innovative leaders. We can be the leaders of the whole globe rather than just providing service to the companies. And one of the missing piece of Web3 that also leads to what push protocol is, like communication in is Stone Age. We cannot notify user, and there is a lot of info drop. So see how many of you actually open a WhatsApp and basically chat with your friends. It usually how happens or how we interact with WhatsApp or most of the application is we get a notification from your friend. We see, okay, there is a notification. We click on that notification and we initiate the chat, right? Similarly, like for important meetings, I guess almost all of the things are initiated with that specific notification. For example, Swiggy just send you a notification 60% off on your favorite dessert. Okay, then chances of hitting that notifications are high. So subconsciously we don't realize, but most of our actions in Web 2 are triggered by an event that is basically a notification, right? But while we are talking about the Web 3 or Web 3.0, there is nothing, or there was nothing like a communication that is present in Web 3.0. How we usually interact in Web 3.0, we have to open a web browser, we have to connect that MetaMask that we have recently seen, and then we can explore dApps and everything. Okay, so the critical information in the Web 3.0 is getting dropped, right? And it creates a lot of huge loss also. For example, DeFi is decentralized finance. Let's say my loan is about to get liquidated. Let's say my ENS domain is about to get expired, or some very information, critical information is there, but it's not feasible for me 24 hours I just open 100 of tabs or 10 of tabs and see what's the current status. So communication is something that was missing in the uh, current age. Can you? Hmm. So solution is either create a communication layer that have dynamic notification, and it should be platform agnostic. That means we can receive notification anywhere. So these are of course important use case that we have where we can put notifications, or these are also use cases of blockchain where we can have all these things. So one thing is, this is mostly what is in the Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, what is in the blockchain. We'll talk about few roles, and finally I'll give you a very short glimpse of what push protocol is. Then we will open a floor for Q&A. Okay, so I guess at least you are interested in tech roles or job roles, because what happens with us we know okay what is blockchain. We have seen market is growing, but the chances are many of you are not interested even in the technical part. So you should be aware what are the major tech roles or non-tech roles available in the blockchain. If you want, you can take a picture of this. Otherwise, I posted or pinned into the group also. So one thing is of course a trader. Second thing, or I'll just maybe just give you a glimpse like that. When we are developing something, we have to write a code in a language called Solidity. So one thing is, you can be a blockchain developer. If you wanted to understand the underneath, consensus and everything, then there is a role of a blockchain architect. Okay, if you're not interested in both, but you are good at research, there's a role of blockchain researcher. Okay, so these are three major things in the tech. Of course, you can be a engineering lead or mostly related to protocol integration engineer, but these are major roles in the tech side. On the non-tech side, basically what happens is, blockchain is basically a community, right? Blockchain is nothing about the community. Each one of you plays an essential part, and again, to manage those community, we need a community manager. Okay, then there is a marketing part or marketing aspect of that. Third thing is, let's say I have a client, I run a business, but I don't know what blockchain is, right? So as a blockchain consultant, you can consult, okay, this specific blockchain can be of best use, or this is how you can solve those issues. So that is again a non-tech role. And finally, as we write blogs and everything, you can also be a blockchain writer over here.
We launched EPNS in 2020 with the backing of Web3's leading developers, investors, and builders. To date, we have powered the world's.
So I guess this is one of the video of previously we were named as the EPNS, Ethereum Push Notification Service. So this is what push protocol do.
Leading developers, investors, and builders. To date, we have powered the world's largest notification network on Ethereum. Now, EPNS is evolving beyond Ethereum and beyond push notifications. Introducing Push Protocol, the multi-chain communication stack for Web3. Push is building a suite of products to enable notifications, chat, ads, streaming, and more. The Push token is the critical piece of the Push Protocol, securing, governing, and incentivizing all ecosystem participants. Push Protocol is the missing piece of Web3. EPNS is excited to announce that we are now Push Protocol. We launched EPNS in 2020 with the backing of Web3's leading developers, investors, and builders. To date, we have powered the world's largest notification network on Ethereum. Now, EPNS is evolving beyond Ethereum and beyond push notifications. Introducing Push Protocol, the multi-chain communication stack for Web3. Push is building a suite of products to enable notifications, chat, ads, streaming, and more. The Push token is the critical piece of the Push protocol, securing, governing, and incentivizing all ecosystem participants. Push protocol is the missing piece of Web3. Found. Join us at push.org.
So I guess I'll just quickly give you the glimpse of push protocol. Okay. So one thing is we at push, what we do is there's two segment right now. One is the notification, second thing is push chat. So just trying to make you visualize. Uh, One thing is push chat works at the wallet to wallet address because there is anonymity. Like we don't know what wallet address is owned by someone. So I cannot of course WhatsApp them, right? But again, that wallet address might have some very cool NFT or something that is very useful that I might need. So with push chat, you can communicate with them. So these are few problems that DAOs are not able to talk. DeFi fails to notify, and there is an issue in the NFT and everything. So we have tried to solve that, and this is just so far we last year we have launched on the mainnet. Until that, we have empowered 18 million notifications with 80K subscribers and 100 plus integrations. So I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but these are friends of EPNS. That means these are protocols that enable notification and chat over there. And finally, as I mentioned, we have the push chat that is also known as the wallet to wallet chat. This is a simple screenshot of that. How you can do wallet address chat if you see at the above. So this is how it works. And one security feature is, let's say other wallet address have to communicate with me. So just to avoid the scam, first thing, there is an intent approval. That means I'll receive that intent. If they approve, then only the chat is initiated, and everything is decentralized. The messages are stored on the decentralized network or storage that is IPFS, and all these are encrypted with something called PGP keys. So you don't have to worry about the privacy. Even I, as an employee, cannot decrypt or radio messages. And finally, we are evolving. We have all these things and all these features that are coming up and already has been passed. So if you wanted to integrate in your application or something, so you can do that. And of course, this is an access of push chat is a beta is live. So if you want the access of push chat, you can either DM me or you can reach out to us so we can provide the information on the same. So, yep, these are the things. I guess you are happy now. So, if you wanted to, learn about the things, these are the Notion page which have all the resources, how to get started, what are the tech rules, and all the information is basically embedded in this page, Notion page. This is the Discord. If you are a developer and wanted to be a part of a developer community, please join this because there are a lot of events that is happening. Okay, and because of those events, of course there is a lot of incentivization of crypto associated to it. So if you wanted to be there, please join Discord. And finally, this is Telegram community already been part of. But again, none of them is compulsion. If you really wanted to be there, you can maybe scan all these things. So, yep, these is mostly all about. We have learned about blockchain, why blockchain is important, what are the components of blockchain. We have moved to Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. We have seen what at push we are doing and how we can solve the problems and bit about the roles. But as I mentioned, we wanted to make more interactive. So now floor is open for Q&A, and yeah, just ask me queries.
Hello, sir. I am Brahman Mishra. I'm running an organization in NFT space named Almighty Crafters, right? So the problem that we are facing in yeah, that's Almighty Crafters. You can check the website. So the problem that we are facing is that people are not really convinced about with the notion of buying NFTs or ordering personalized NFTs. Even though what is NFT is the third most Googled question last year.
Yes.
What we can do to increase our share in Web3 pie, like because people, especially in Indians, even though we want to know about an NFT, but we are not convinced of buying it or owning one. Yeah.
Got it. I guess that's a legit question. Most of us like one thing is like if I ask you like why you wanted to and buy an NFT or why you want to own an NFT, you don't have the answer of that, right? Because there is no necessity of that. First thing is we are mostly driven to buy those NFT just because the incentivization part of the money associated to it, right? But again, when there's money or some sort of incentivization is involved, there are a lot of frauds also, right? And just for the same reason, like might have most of us get scammed also. So there are few things like how scam, how you can be more legit. First thing is, of course, get the basic of blockchain, like I have shared the resources. Second thing is, all code is available on the internet. Okay, so if you are a developer, you can go to that. If you are not, that's totally fine. Third thing is you can do is see like type of NFT places, like who basically create a fund that 10 hours left to mint an NFT, or like price will rise from 25x something. So nahi hota 25,000 में पैसे डालता. So try to avoid all those things, anything that feels suspicious. And third thing is try to see like if they have legit community or legit use case of that NFT. Anyone like right now I can create an NFT in less than 10 seconds. Okay, I can create a collection of 1,000 NFTs, maybe like I can provide you all of you like your own PFPs, right? But that doesn't make sense, right? It's mostly like a scam. Yeah? I how to add a value to it. So I guess one of the things we can add value to NFT is by having a legit use case.
People in the balcony, please maintain the background.
I guess like if you want, you can leave. That's fine. We don't need all of you. Only who is genuinely interested, we can have that because this is just. Yeah?
We are wrapping up the session in a while. Just if you have any queries, any questions, you can put up, right? Uh, Accordingly, those who are interacting, obviously there is some goodies over there for them. And make sure you participate over there.
Good evening, sir. My name is Aman. I want to ask a question like what the push is solving in a decentralized space. Like the session and the metrics are also there for the communication purposes. So, what's the vision for the push to go in that direction?
Good. I can see like if you just go by the what we are believing is we're trying to create a communication protocol in the Web3 space, right? So we always believe that any action that is happening in the blockchain or like at any place is triggered by events, right? So that's the reason the first thing that we have created is the notification. Then by using those notification, we basically started with the chat. Okay, so we recently launched push chat, that is the decentralized wallet to wallet chat, and of course like upcoming we will be adding more features to it, but more inclined towards the whole communication protocol in the Web3 ecosystem. This can be a video call or anything, but everything will be decentralized and in the Web3 space.
Hello. Hello, Pranshu. Hi. Pranshu. So I have a question, right, regarding push. So how are the notifications secure, or what are the methods they do, and how are you able to manage it across like multiple chains? Like I use the SDKs of the push protocol, and like they have channels and they have subscription methods, and like they have broadcast and targeted kind of like method. So how are you able to kind of like send notification across the different chains?
I know it's a great question. One thing is like we have two type of contract. One is APNS core and communication. So the creation of channel happens on the core, while the communications happen on the APNS communicator. Okay, APNS core is always deployed in the Ethereum, while his EPNS communication channel is deployed on multiple chains, and all this chain ID, like there is some standard called CAIP. So we bind all those things with that CAIP, and we basically fetch those events, and there is something called a node, push nodes. So push node basically fetches those events, index it, process it, and finally delivers it. But of course, like if you wanted to know more, we can have a one-on-one discussion.
So just another question was that like you said that there are various chains, right? Solana, like Ethereum and Bitcoin also. Like they use different consensus mechanism, right?
Yes.
And so like there are lots of chains, there are lots of coins. I want to know that how are we going to solve that like fiat currency problem, right? That how are we going to come upon the single currency? Like we have a global standard of dollar right now. So kind of like how are we going to navigate through that ecosystem?
I guess see like as I was mentioning it, like blockchain is mostly about the community rather than like one single organization decision. So I guess even like in my personal opinion, I don't think like we can settle with one crypto or something. But if you wanted to do, it's mostly like a community that will decide. Right now, if you see the adoption of Bitcoin is more than 50%. So it basically depends on like future or the timeline of the events that will decide all these things.
There is a quick announcement. People who have an urgent issue and who wants to leave can leave the premise in a organized fashion. But if you have any queries, you are free to stay back. We'll be wrapping up the whole session by 5. Okay, don't make a rush. Like I said, please move in an organized fashion. Thank you. And make sure everybody punches your ID card, or else your deals won't be registered. And for people who don't have ID cards, reach out to the volunteers and make sure your registration number is noted.
Good evening, Bhaiya. My name is Kaushik Raj, and my question is from you. How you guys are preventing cyber attack?
What it's I guess like the question is like how we are preventing cyber attacks, right?
Apparently, there is there has been a.
Got it. So I guess like when the civil attack is usually like when one node is basically attacked with all the different nodes of the malicious actors. So right now like the nodes that we are running is mostly controlled by us. So
Excuse me, sir. There is. People who have punched the ID card while entering the event, you need not punch it again. But people who have not punched their ID card, make sure to note your registration number from one of our volunteers. Thank you. Leave without punching the ID cards. Only if you have entered with punching your ID card.
like I was mentioning, the nodes are currently owned by us, so we are decentralizing the nodes. So that's like one of the way. But in like upcoming, we have integrated something called random node selection. So even though someone tries to attack, it's very hard for them to visualize which node to attack.
And is there is any documentation?
Yes, you can go to the docs.push.com. Even in that motion page, I guess it was mentioned. Any other queries?
Hello. Hello.
ये बांट दिए इनको भी सिनेमा
ले लो सर अब।
बच्चे को अच्छे से छोटे छोटे कार्टून ये ऐसे सारे कार्टून
इधर क्या चल रहा है? बस क्वेश्चन पूछना। ठीक है भाई, बैठ जाओ, इधर लेके आ रहा हूँ। ठीक है, हाँ नोट करवाना है, 5-10 मिनट बैठना, 5 मिनट में करवा दो, ठीक है। अरे ऐसे अच्छा माइक पे पूछना है, ठीक है।